When discussing spiritual awakening, many people picture a peaceful experience filled with moments of Zen, deep meditations, and constant happiness. The idea is that once we reach this enlightened state, everything becomes clear, balanced, and easy. However, the reality of spiritual awakening is rarely like this. What often actually happens is a whirlwind of changes, some of which may seem strange or even unsettling. These changes go beyond what we might expect, affecting not only our emotional or mental state, but also our physical being. Contrary to what many expect, spiritual awakening is full of ups and downs, moments of clarity followed by confusion, feelings of complete peace, but also of being totally lost. Every step on this journey can bring something new and often unexpected. You may feel confused or frightened by the changes you're experiencing during your awakening, but all of this is natural. Each transformation, both internal and external, is part of the process and signals that something is being restructured within you. These changes are essential for your evolution into the most authentic and elevated version of yourself. That's why it's important to understand that spiritual awakening isn't about reaching a permanent state of perfection or peace. It is, in fact, a path of constant evolution, and along the way, strange changes can occur. Changes that may seem destabilizing at first, but are crucial for our growth. One of the most noticeable changes during the spiritual awakening process is physical transformation. These shifts can be so noticeable that you might find yourself looking in the mirror and asking, "Who is this person?" Changes in facial features, weight, posture, and even the energy you emit can be so drastic that others may struggle to recognize you. However, these transformations are manifestations of a deeper process. The body, in its wisdom, is releasing stored traumas and dense energy accumulated over the years, often without us consciously realizing it. As you go through this journey of self-awareness and healing, your body begins to react, adapt, reorganize, and purify itself in unexpected ways. These physical changes are a sign that your body is adjusting to a new frequency, preparing to accommodate the expansion of your consciousness. The body is incredibly intelligent and often knows exactly what to do to release what no longer serves your evolution. Instead of fighting these changes, it's essential to trust the process. For example, you may experience sudden weight loss even without following drastic diets. The body may start to shed weight by releasing emotional weight and energies accumulated over time. Additionally, it might get rid of physical retention like excess water or fat, which had built up due to stress, unresolved traumas, or limiting beliefs. During this process, you'll realize that you're releasing not only physically but also emotionally, letting go of the dense energy accumulated over years. This dense energy, often carried through limiting beliefs or traumatic experiences, begins to be processed and reflected in your physical appearance. This is a reflection of deep inner change. Just as the mind and spirit undergo transformation, so does the body. Sometimes the body's response may be temporary, such as weight gain due to water retention during the energy transition. But this phase will soon give way to the release of energies and a renewed balance. The most important thing is not to get attached to the surface level changes. When you begin to notice that your body is transforming, trust in your body's natural intelligence. It is doing the healing work that often your conscious mind cannot even perceive. Instead of trying to control or resist, we must learn to flow with the process and accept the changes, knowing they are part of our growth. trusting the process is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. As the spiritual awakening process continues, one of the most notable and often surprising changes is the transformation of the eyes. We're not just talking about a physical change, but a transformation that goes far beyond that. The eyes, often said to be the windows to the soul, begin to reflect the deeper internal changes occurring. When someone undergoes a spiritual awakening, something happens to their energy field. Dense energy accumulated over the years begins to be released, along with emotions and traumas stored inside. As a result, the eyes can become brighter, more alive, almost as though they're waking up from a long sleep. The brightness in the eyes can be interpreted as not just a physical change, but as a reflection of the purification happening at a deeper level. These changes in the eyes are one of the visible signs that inner work is being done. When you begin to release emotional and energetic blockages, the clarity that arises is not just mental. It permeates the entire body, including the eyes. The color, intensity, and liveliness of the eyes may change, sometimes subtly, sometimes more strikingly. What stands out is that the eyes begin to convey a powerful energy. They express authenticity, peace, and a direct connection with the person's essence. The brightness, liveliness, and clarity that arise in the eyes are among the most beautiful ways to witness someone's evolution during their spiritual awakening. This phenomenon is a direct consequence of the healing of traumas we carry, the unprocessed memories, past pains, and limiting beliefs we've built over the years. When we begin to free ourselves from these burdens, a true cleansing occurs, and this cleansing reflects in the brightness of our eyes. The gaze becomes more alive, more profound, and when looking at someone who has gone through this process, you can sense you're looking directly into their soul. This happens because when someone undergoes a deep spiritual transformation, the energy around them becomes clearer, lighter, and purer. The eyes, as mirrors of the soul, begin to reflect this internal clarity. It's not just the gaze itself, but the intensity of the energy that emanates from it. No longer are there dense layers of hidden fear or pain. It's as if the gaze reflects the serenity and understanding gained throughout the spiritual journey. When we cleanse and realign our energies, we begin to manifest a more authentic version of ourselves, and the eyes become the mirror of that authenticity. It's no coincidence that people say when you look into someone's eyes, you can see their true essence. They reveal what cannot be spoken, what cannot be expressed in words. Spiritual awakening is not limited to external or physical changes. It deeply affects who we are at our core, altering our perception of ourselves and the world around us. One of the most powerful and at the same time unsettling transformations in this process is the dissolution of the ego, a phenomenon known as ego death. The ego, the set of beliefs, identities, and defenses that shapes our perception of who we are, begins to disintegrate during awakening. This doesn't mean that the self disappears, but rather that the identity we've built throughout life, with all its limitations and false beliefs, starts to be questioned and dissolved. This process is often uncomfortable because it challenges us to let go of how we've always seen ourselves and how we've built our lives and relationships. During this ego dissolution, our personal identity undergoes profound changes. What once seemed like a solid and well-defined version of ourselves starts to crumble, leaving a temporary void. The feeling of not knowing who we are anymore or not understanding our place in the world can be overwhelming. Many people going through this process experience moments of insecurity and disorientation. The old identity, rooted in past experiences and limiting beliefs, begins to crumble, and it is in this moment that the true process of self-discovery begins to unfold. This is when we begin to question the foundation of our identity. It is when we realize that what we thought was our identity no longer reflects who we truly are. The feeling of losing this part of ourselves can create deep confusion. Thoughts like, "Who am I now if I'm no longer the person who always defined themselves by external achievements?" begin to surface. The feeling of loss is real, and it's a challenge to deal with this internal transformation. However, it's important to understand that the process of ego death is essential for spiritual growth and evolution. When the ego dissolves, it opens up space for the true essence of being to manifest. It's not about losing your identity, but about allowing a more authentic version of yourself to take shape. Resistance to this transformation is often what causes the discomfort. When we learn to embrace change and trust that we're being guided toward a more authentic version of ourselves, the process becomes easier. This temporary feeling of emptiness and confusion is just a phase, one that's necessary for something new and more in alignment with our true nature to emerge. So, if you're experiencing a sense of disconnection from who you once were, know that it's part of a cleansing and liberation process. The old version of yourself was tied to limiting beliefs and behaviors that no longer serve the new path you're walking. Although challenging, this is a normal part of the journey, and it signals that your awakening is happening in a profound and transformative way. Throughout this journey, your identity will not disappear, but will instead be renewed and strengthened through a deeper connection with your essence. The ego, with all its limitations, will give way to a more expansive and authentic version of who you are. With spiritual awakening comes a new perspective on the world around us. As the inner journey deepens, our physical and energetic sensitivity expands, revealing aspects of reality that were once hidden. One of the first signs of this heightened sensitivity is the realization that you feel everything more intensely. Emotions, both yours and others, become more obvious. You might sense someone's joy before they even smile, or feel another's discomfort without a word being spoken. In some cases, this ability to perceive the emotions of others becomes so strong that it can feel almost impossible not to absorb the vibrations of the environment. This can be both a blessing and a challenge. Feeling the world so deeply can be overwhelming, especially if you're not yet fully aligned with your own energy. As your sensitivity increases, the need to clear and balance your own energy becomes even more essential. While the emotions and energies of others never go away, as you deepen your connection with awakening, your ability to perceive and manage these energies expands. The opening of your chakras, energy centers throughout the body, plays a vital role in this process. As your chakras open, your ability to sense and perceive the energy around you grows, heightening your spiritual awareness. This increase in perception extends beyond human emotions. You also begin to feel energetic flows in environments, situations, and even objects. Where everything once seemed static, you can now sense an energetic dynamic, a pulse. The energy of a room, a meeting, or even a conversation becomes more apparent. This new level of perception can be revealing, helping you see beyond surface appearances and understand the invisible forces that shape reality. However, if not managed well, this sensitivity can become exhausting. You may find yourself overwhelmed by the emotions and energies you absorb, which is why the practice of discernment is crucial. The goal isn't to block or ignore these energies, but to learn how to manage them in a healthy way. This practice involves setting energetic boundaries and strengthening your ability to discern which energies you want to absorb and which you need to let pass. It's a process of self-awareness and self-care. By understanding what's happening both around and within you, you can transform this sensitivity into a powerful tool. Instead of seeing it as a burden, begin to see it as a gift, one that provides you with a deeper understanding of reality. When you learn to use this sensitivity in a balanced way, it becomes an ally in your self-discovery, enhancing your perception of the world. You can use this ability to form more authentic connections with others, identify opportunities that might have gone unnoticed, and live in a way that is more aligned with your true essence. As you progress in your spiritual awakening, the intensity of the energy within you grows. This acceleration of energy doesn't just affect your emotional or spiritual state, but also influences the manifestations you attract into your life. The manifestation process, which once seemed slow or distant, begins to speed up. As your energy purifies and intensifies, your thoughts, feelings, and actions align more effectively with what you want to create. The energy you emit becomes more powerful, attracting outcomes at surprising speeds. However, like everything in life, this acceleration has two sides. Good things manifest more quickly, but so do challenges and obstacles. Think of your energy like a train. Initially, you may be moving at the pace of a freight train, slow, burdened by obstacles, limiting beliefs, and unresolved traumas. This train, though moving, can't reach high speeds because it's weighed down. But as you purify your energy, this freight train transforms into a bullet train. Your energy becomes lighter, more fluid, and much faster, allowing you to manifest your desires much more efficiently. However, with this increased speed comes an intensification of the processes. As your energy moves faster, changes occur more immediately and unexpectedly. This means that while you may manifest positive outcomes more rapidly, you may also face challenges with greater intensity. Unresolved emotions, past traumas, and emotional triggers may surface quickly, and problems that once seemed distant or postponed now demand immediate attention. This increase in emotional intensity and challenges is not a sign that something is wrong. On the contrary, it reflects the acceleration of energy. By releasing denser energies, the body and mind process blockages more quickly, opening the path for greater clarity and lightness. The key to dealing with this acceleration is learning to flow with it without resistance. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the rapid changes and challenges that arise, try to view them as opportunities for growth. The acceleration of energy invites you to face what's being brought to the surface, consciously and courageously. Doing so not only accelerates your manifestations, but also strengthens your ability to navigate changes with balance. One of the most transformative effects of this acceleration is the increase in spiritual clarity. This clarity is not just about seeing the world more clearly, but perceiving reality in a completely new way. What once seemed confusing or distorted now appears with sharper detail, like a window being cleaned, letting in light and revealing the true essence of what you're observing. This metaphor of the dirty window illustrates the process of gaining clarity during awakening. Throughout life, our perception is clouded by layers of experiences, beliefs, traumas, and unresolved emotions. Dirt on the window of our perception. When you begin to clear your energy system, release traumas, and balance your chakras, these layers gradually fade away, allowing you to see the world with greater clarity. At this stage, your intuition, once muffled by distractions and dense energies, becomes sharper. You begin to perceive people's intentions more clearly, noticing nuances that you once missed. This heightened perception extends beyond words and actions. You start to feel what lies beneath, sensing whether someone is being sincere or deceitful. The energy surrounding people, environments, and situations becomes more tangible, as if you've developed a keener vision of the energetic field around you. This enhanced spiritual perception also influences your understanding of larger systems around you. You start to recognize the invisible forces that govern social, political, and economic systems, seeing clearly the dynamics that operate beneath the surface. It's not just about seeing what's in front of you. It's about understanding the interconnectedness of everything. You begin to connect the dots of a reality that once seemed fragmented. This clarity is a powerful skill that arises with spiritual awakening. By clearing energetic blockages, you unlock your ability to see the world more deeply and authentically. What once seemed confusing or meaningless now aligns more clearly, enabling you to make decisions with greater confidence and wisdom. Simultaneously, this clarity strengthens your connection with your true essence, helping align your thoughts, feelings, and actions with your deeper nature. In a world full of distractions, this spiritual clarity becomes one of your greatest sources of guidance. It helps you understand not only the world around you, but also yourself, providing the wisdom to live a more authentic, aligned life. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts and experiences. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.